So I think madam, almost all the students madam, they have joined the classroom madam. So now without wasting the time madam, let me start madam, with our chapter madam. In last lecture madam, we have completed some of the important terms madam, which were been based upon madam, the fundamentals of madam, discrete type of data. Then we have completed about a midpoint. Then we have studied about the width, and then we have studied about the frequency and frequency distribution model. Frequency and frequency distribution model. And now moving towards the last part of this chapter. But in this given chapter, we are going to study about the three important types of frequency, three important types of frequency, and three important types of frequency which we are going to study. They are number one, which is being called to be as a relative frequency. Number two, which has been called to be as a density frequency. And number three, which has been called to be as a cumulative frequency. I repeat, in this given chapter, we are going to study about three important types of frequencies. And that three important type of frequencies which we are going to study, they are number one is a relative frequency, number two is a density frequency, and number three is our cumulative frequency. And everyone should make a note of that. These frequencies which we are going to study, they are not a normal frequency, but they are the spatial types of frequencies. I repeat, they are the spatial types of frequencies. जब मैंने बड़ा ये तीन फ्रीक्वेंसीज के नाम रीड आउट किए थे तब तुम्हें तीसरा फ्रीक्वेंसी बड़ा सुनने के बाद लगा होगा बड़ा कि चलो कोई जाना पहचाना फ्रीक्वेंसी वाला नाम तो आया बड़ा, which has been called to be as बड़ा a cumulative frequency बड़ा. Otherwise बड़ा फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड के नाम सुनने के बाद बड़ा everyone was shocked बड़ा कि सर ये आप हम लोग को क्या बता रहे हो सब, राइट. थर्ड जो फ्रीक्वेंसी है बड़ा क्यूमुलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी सबके लिए बड़ा फेमिलियर है कि नहीं बड़ा. School days may be in somewhere 9-10 standard you have studied about a cumulative frequency whose abbreviation is CF, whose abbreviation is CF, cumulative frequency. And now without wasting a time, let me start with the first type of frequency which is being called to be as a relative frequency. Relative frequency. And now, since we are going to start with this term, which has been called to be as a relative frequency, so in that case, it is compulsory. It is compulsory to know that, sir, since we are going to start with this term, which has been called to be as a relative frequency, so in that case, we should know okay, what is the meaning of the term relative frequency is. What is the meaning of the term relative frequency is. So relative frequency, it is been defined. Relative frequency, it is been defined to be as a ratio. Ratio bola, ratio. It is a ratio of a class frequency to a total frequency. It is a ratio of class frequency to a total frequency. If you remember, in my earlier lecture, I have explained to you about the meaning of the term class frequency and the total frequency. While I was explaining the term group data, उसमें मैंने तुम लोग को ये सब explain किया था. If you recall this, यहाँ से पता चल जाएगा तुम लोग को कि for the class intervals 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and 40 to 50. The frequencies would have been taken to be as 3, 7, 4, 6. So what are this 3, 7, 4, 6? It is being called to be as what? Class frequency. It is called to be as a class frequency. Whereas you can see that there is a 20, 20. So what this 20 is called to be as what? A total frequency. So this was again a short revision about the class frequency and a total frequency. So as I explained to you, a relative frequency, it is been defined to be as a ratio. Ratio bola. क्या बोला बड़ा? Ratio. It is a ratio of the class frequency to the total frequency. And because of which we can study the formula. Formula for relative frequency. Formula for relative frequency. The relative frequency is equal to class frequency upon total frequency. Yes, you have to learn this formula but right now. Relative frequency is equal to a class frequency upon total frequency. The formula it has to be learned from both the sides. The formula it has to be learned from both the sides. That is from left to right as well as from right to left. Relative frequency is equal to class frequency upon the total frequency, whereas class frequency upon total frequency is equal to relative frequency relative frequency. इंस्टीट्यूट बड़ा कोई भी कोई भी फॉर्मेट में बड़ा तुम्हें क्वेश्चन पूछ सकता है कोई भी का मतलब बड़ा कोई भी एंड नाउ आफ्टर नोइंग दिस okay, what is a relative frequency is now over your screen but you can see that there is a table in which we have taken the marks that marks are considered to be as a class intervals. Second column it is a frequency and now for each of the class intervals you can see the frequency to be as 3, 7, 4, 6. चलो मुझे बताओ 3, 7, 4, 6 बड़ा क्या कंसीडर करोगे तुम लोग उसे मैसेज करो जल्दी फटाफट बोलो बड़े सब लोग फटाफट correct but it is being considered to be as a class frequency okay but for finding the relative frequency we require one more value बताओ which is that correct उत्कर्षा भाविका very good correct we require the total frequency तो बेटा यहाँ पे मैंने टेबल में टोटल फ्रीक्वेंसी जो है बड़ा वो किया नहीं है तुम लोग बड़ा मुझे फटाफट करके बताओ टोटल फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या है 3, 7, 4, 6 तो इसका जो बड़ा टोटल फ्रीक्वेंसी है वेरी गुड द टोटल फ्रीक्वेंसी इज 20 and now यू कैन जस्ट चेक इट आउट कि तुम्हारे पास बड़ा क्लास फ्रीक्वेंसी है, तुम्हारे पास बड़ा टोटल फ्रीक्वेंसी है. तो बाय नोइंग द बड़ा क्लास फ्रीक्वेंसी एंड द टोटल फ्रीक्वेंसी बड़ा वो लोग हम लोग रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी बड़ा फाइंड कर सकते हैं. तुम्हारे पास बड़ा भगवान का दिया हुआ सब कुछ है बड़ा. तो इसका मतलब बड़ा ये हुआ कि इन द गिवन टेबल you can see that since the total frequency is 20, therefore for each of the class interval you can see that in the third column बड़ा मैंने relative frequency find किया हुआ है. फर्स्ट क्लास इंटरवल का it is 3/20, सेकेंड क्लास इंटरवल का it is 7/20, थर्ड क्लास इंटरवल का it is बेटा 4/20 एंड जो लास्ट क्लास इंटरवल जो है उसका जो फ्रीक्वेंसी है वो 6/20 है. For the first time in your lifespan, madam, you can see that the frequencies they are obtained in the terms of fraction. They are obtained in the terms of fraction. तुम लोग ने बड़ा राइट फ्रॉम स्कूल डेज टिल 12th स्टैंडर्ड बहुत बार फ्रीक्वेंसी के साथ बेटा डील किया होगा. बट क्या तुम लोग ने कभी भी बेटा कोई भी फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या तुम लोग ने बड़ा फ्रैक्शन में देखा था बड़ा? तुम लोग ने बड़ा कभी भी कोई फ्रीक्वेंसी बड़ा फ्रैक्शन में देखा था तुम लोग ने बड़ा? Every time beta, whenever you have observed the frequency beta, it was being observed in a complete number.
पढ़ाई के लिए मेहनत तो सब करते हैं, लेकिन स्मार्ट स्टडी कौन करता है? प्री एग्जाम ऐप के साथ बनाइए अपनी तैयारी सुपर स्मार्ट. प्री एग्जाम ऐप देता है वाइड रेंज के एग्जाम्स की तैयारी जैसे जी, नीट, कैट, सीए फाउंडेशन, सीएस सीट, बैंकिंग, रेलवे, एसएससी, एमबीए एंट्रेंस, एसवाईजेसी, कॉम, टीवाईबी कॉम और भी बहुत कुछ. चैप्टर वाइज टेस्ट्स एंड मॉक टेस्ट्स, डिटेल्ड परफॉर्मेंस एनालिसिस और अब तैयारी होगी एकदम परफेक्ट. कहीं भी कभी भी पढ़ाई करें और एक विशाल क्वेश्चन बैंक आपकी तैयारी को बनाए आसान. इंस्टेंट इवैल्यूएशन से तुरंत जानिए अपनी परफॉर्मेंस और पाएं पर्सनलाइज्ड फीडबैक. तो अब देरी किस बात की? प्री एग्जाम ऐप डाउनलोड करें और अपने नाम से रजिस्टर्ड करें और एक विशाल क्वेश्चन बैंक बिल्कुल फ्री और अपनी सफलता की कहानी लिखें. लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में है. प्री एग्जाम ऐप स्मार्ट तैयारी का साथी.
It was been observed in a complete number, or you can say it was been observed in a complete value. But here, for the first time in your lifespan, you can see that relative frequency it is being obtained in the terms of fraction. And if we desire, and if we desire, and if we desire, we can also convert, we can but also convert this relative frequency in terms of percentage. We can convert the relative frequency in the terms of percentage. And in our school days, we have learned that if we want to convert any of the fraction in terms of percentage, the procedure is very simple. You have to multiply the ratio by 100. For example, here the value is 3/20. 3/20. So this will result to 3/20 multiplied by 100 by using the table of 20, 21s are 25s are. You will get the answer to be as well. 15. You will get the answer to be as well. 15. समझा पड़ा सब लोग को? उसे परसेंटेज में कैसे कन्वर्ट करना है पता चला सबको? उसको परसेंटेज में बड़ा कैसे कन्वर्ट करना है पता चला सबको? अब ये देखो बेटा, सेकेंड जो वैल्यू है बेटा, सेकेंड वैल्यू इट इज 7/20, राइट? एंड अब 7/20 को बेटा मुझे कन्वर्ट करना है परसेंटेज में, तो प्रोसीजर बेटा अगेन इट विल बी द सेम. It will be the 7/20 multiplied by 100. And on solving this, it will give you the answer to be as 35%. It will give the answer to be as 35%. And like that, for the remaining class intervals also, you can find the relative frequency. And now, for your additional knowledge, I will like to impart that since the relative frequency, it can be expressed in terms of percentage. Therefore, relative frequency, it is also called to be as percentage frequency. Relative frequency, it is also called to be as percentage frequency. And now, after knowing all these things, दिमाग जो है बड़ा कहीं ना कहीं सोचेगा तो जरूर कि सर आपने हम लोग को इतना सब नॉलेज दे दिया विद रिस्पेक्ट टू रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी, ये तो सब ठीक है, बट सर हमारा डाउट ये है कि व्हाट इज द यूज ऑफ स्टडिंग दिस रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी. What is the use of studying this relative frequency? So answer to that question is a relative frequency, it is being used for carrying out the comparisons. Relative frequency is used for carrying out the comparisons, is used for carrying out the comparisons between two distributions. Between two distributions, whenever the distributions are two or more than two, and if we want to carry out the comparisons between that two distributions, so it can be done by using a relative frequency. It can be done by using a relative frequency. Apart from that, in a same frequency distribution, if we want to compare two or more items, if we want to compare two or more items, then in that case, it is possible that we can make the use of the relative frequency. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि सर ने सिर्फ हम लोग को पढ़ाने के लिए सिर्फ ये पढ़ा दिया, बट सर ने कभी हम लोग को इसका हम लोग को यूज भी नहीं बताया कि व्हाट इज द यूज ऑफ स्टडिंग दिस रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी. तो तुम्हें याद रखना है कि रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी इट इज बीइंग यूज्ड for carrying out the comparisons between two or more distributions, or it is being used for carrying out the comparisons between two or more observations of the same frequency distributions. चलो बड़े, any doubts? जवड़ा सब लोग को चलो okay. Okay, now you people better be ready to answer my questions. Okay, मैं क्वेश्चंस पूछूंगा और तुम लोग मुझे उसका आंसर देना फटाफट. नेक्स्ट, without options, without options, relative frequency is equal to class frequency upon dash. Correct, bro. Very good. Perfect, beta. Very good. Next, relative frequency is dash upon the total frequency. Correct, bro. ओके, अब सब लोग बेटा ध्यान से सुनना. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन में मैं ऑप्शंस दूंगा सब लोग को, ठीक है? नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन में बेटा मैं ऑप्शंस दूंगा तुम लोग को. रिलेटिव फ्रीक्वेंसी इज इक्वल टू क्लास फ्रीक्वेंसी अपॉन द विड्थ ऑफ द क्लास. ऑप्शन बी, टोटल फ्रीक्वेंसी अपॉन द क्लास फ्रीक्वेंसी. ऑप्शन सी, क्लास फ्रीक्वेंसी अपॉन द टोटल फ्रीक्वेंसी. डी, none of this. Very good. Correct. Next, same question in different form. Class frequency upon the total frequency is A, density frequency, B, relative frequency, C, cumulative frequency, D, none of this. Very good. बाकी सब लोग भी बड़ा आंसर दो मुझे. Correct, बेटा. The answer is बेटा option B. Very good. आज वेद एब्सेंट है. वेद, वेद आंसर नहीं दे रहा है मुझे. वेद, दीप, आंसर दे बेटा. वेद क्यों आंसर नहीं दे रहा है? दीप, तुम लोग ऐसा मत समझते बेटा कि ऑनलाइन लेक्चर में मेरा ध्यान नहीं है बेटा. सबके ऊपर ध्यान है मेरा. चेतना इज एब्सेंट. चेतना चौधरी, चेतना, चलो नेक्स्ट. दिशा, Disha,